Ambassador Keith Var smoothed the shimmering fabric of his ceremonial robes, a self-satisfied smirk playing across his alien features. The highly polished floor of the Galactic Council station reflected his elongated shadow as he moved, a triumphant predator in a habitat of its own design. Today was, without a doubt, going to be a glorious day. The kind of day where the universe clicked into perfect, condescending alignment. Today, he would once again deliver the crushing blow of rejection to humanity, for the 47th time, no less. It was a cosmic joke, truly, that these persistent, insignificant creatures kept reappearing, expecting a different outcome. Ambassador, his aide, Nextel, whispered through their neural link, the words a faint hum in Keith Var's auditory receptors. The human delegation is already in conference room Omega-7. They've been waiting for 3 standard hours now. Keith Var's mandibles clicked, a sound of pure, unadulterated amusement. Excellent. Let them wait. Perhaps prolonged discomfort will finally impress upon them the immutable nature of the galactic hierarchy. Perhaps they will finally grasp their rightful, lowly place. He paused at a panoramic viewing port, gazing out at the kaleidoscopic swirls of a distant nebula, a vast, indifferent beauty that mirrored his own perceived superiority. 47 years, Nextel, he mused, the words a slow, satisfied purr. 47 years these tenacious little creatures have pestered us for the most basic of trade rights. One would think, by now, they would have absorbed the simple, undeniable truth of their inadequacy. Indeed, Ambassador, Nextel's voice was a flat, uninspired drone, devoid of any genuine agreement. Though, I must concede, their persistence does border on the remarkable. Remarkable? Keith Var's voice dripped with an almost theatrical disdain, each syllable a calculated insult. It's pathetic, Nextel. Truly pathetic. Like observing a particularly dim-witted domesticated animal repeatedly, and futilely, attempting to walk through an invisible force field, never quite grasping the fundamental barrier preventing its passage. Their inability to comprehend the obvious is, frankly, an embarrassment to the very concept of sapience. The colossal, ornate doors of the council chamber hissed open, responding to his biometric signature with a deferential sigh of air. Keith Var made his grand, deliberate entrance. The circular chamber was an engineering marvel, a testament to countless millennia of advanced design, with representatives from 37 diverse species arranged in ascending tiers, each group occupying their designated, racially determined seating. At the very center, looking absurdly, almost comically, small and utterly insignificant, sat the human delegation. Captain Marcus Webb, a figure of unremarkable average height by human standards, his hair flecked with an unassuming gray, rose from his seat as Keith Var approached the central podium. He wore one of those primitive fabric uniforms they seemed so inexplicably fond of, a drab, uninspiring gray that seemed to shrink him further in the vast, glittering chamber. Yet, despite his outward ordinariness, there was something in his posture, something in the way he held himself, that hinted at an unsettling, almost unnerving patience. It was a patience that verged on the defiant, a quiet stillness that subtly challenged the very air of superiority Keith Var so meticulously cultivated. Honored council members, Webb began, his voice surprisingly clear and steady, carrying effortlessly through the chamber's meticulously designed acoustics, devoid of any nervousness. We come before you once again to respectfully request basic trading privileges within neutral space sectors. Our aim is to foster peaceful interspecies commerce and contribute to the collective prosperity of the galaxy. A ripple of barely suppressed laughter, a cacophony of alien mirth, swept through the assembly. The Voran representative, a massive, bulbous creature, emitted a sound that could only be described as a guttural snort, a clear expression of derision. The crystalline delegates, their forms shimmering with internal light, flickered their bioluminescent patterns in what their species considered an act of profound humor, a silent, mocking dance of light. Keith Var, savoring the moment, raised his primary appendage, a gesture universally recognized as a demand for silence. The various alien chuckles, snorts, and trills immediately died down, replaced by an expectant quiet. Captain Webb, he began, his voice dripping with the kind of practiced condescension usually reserved for particularly slow-witted children struggling with a basic concept. We have traversed this well-worn path many times before. The human species, regrettably, has repeatedly failed to demonstrate either the requisite technological advancement or the essential cultural sophistication necessary for full galactic trade partnerships. Your civilization, while perhaps quaint in its own limited way, simply does not possess the maturity or capability to engage on a truly galactic scale. Webb's smile, that same unsettlingly patient smile, never wavered. It was as if Keith Varr's words, potent with their intended humiliation, simply slid off him, leaving no mark. With all due respect, Ambassador, Webb countered, his voice still calm, still steady, we have consistently met every technical requirement outlined in the Galactic Trade Accords. Our ships are faster than light capable, achieving speeds well within galactic standards. Our communication systems are fully compatible with all Council protocols, and our economic projections clearly demonstrate our capacity to contribute significantly to galactic commerce, offering unique resources and innovative technologies that could benefit all member species. Your ships, Keith Varr interrupted, a scoffing sound escaping his mandibles, are crude, inefficient, and frankly, an embarrassment to anyone who values elegant design and superior engineering. Your fastest vessels barely achieve Class 3 FTL speeds. The Zolonian Empire, for instance, achieved Class 7 capabilities 3 centuries ago, a feat you still only dream of. The mere thought of your primitive craft cluttering our meticulously managed trade routes is, to put it mildly, distressing. It would be akin to allowing an untrained child to pilot a high-speed inter-system freighter, a disaster waiting to happen. The human delegation shifted uncomfortably in their seats, a collective squirm of irritation, all except Webb, who continued to wear that same, infuriatingly patient smile. Furthermore, Keith Varr continued, warming to his subject, the words flowing with practiced ease, your species has consistently shown a disturbing tendency toward unpredictability, unbridled violence, and uncontrolled emotional outbursts. Your history, as recorded in our interstellar archives, is replete with instances of internal conflict, destructive wars, and irrational behavior. How, pray tell, can we possibly entrust beings with such volatile predispositions with the responsibilities and privileges of full galactic citizenship? How can we trust beings who cannot even maintain basic diplomatic composure? Webb clasped his hands calmly behind his back, his posture unwavering. Ambassador, he stated, his voice still measured, we have maintained diplomatic relations for 47 years without a single incident of aggression or protocol violation on our part. We have respected every rule, abided by every regulation, and approached every negotiation with the utmost sincerity and desire for cooperation. 47 years of rejected applications, the Nexarian delegate interjected, its tentacles writhing with undisguised amusement, a complex dance of mockery. Perhaps it's simply time to accept that some species are, by their very nature, simply not ready for the complexities and responsibilities of galactic civilization. Perhaps it is time for humanity to understand that no means no, unequivocally and eternally. The chamber erupted in a fresh wave of various forms of alien laughter, a symphony of derision. The Voron's deep, rumbling chuckles shook the very floor, the Nexarians emitted high-pitched, mocking trills, and the Zolonians clicked their mandibles in a rapid, derisive rhythm. Even the usually stoic Etherians, their amorphous forms typically devoid of discernible emotion, seemed to shimmer with mirth, their internal lights pulsing with an unusual vibrancy. Keith Varr basked in the moment, a king on his throne of cosmic superiority. This, he thought, was precisely why he adored his job. The intoxicating power to crush dreams, to maintain the meticulously ordered hierarchy of the galaxy, to keep the lesser species firmly in their proper, subservient place. Captain Webb, he said, his voice dripping with a carefully constructed, utterly false mock sympathy, each word a venomous drop. Perhaps your species would be better served focusing on internal development. Perhaps in another century or two, you might, just might, be ready to join the adults at the table. Until then, I suggest you return to your insignificant little blue planet and reflect upon your shortcomings. The laughter in the chamber grew louder, a roaring crescendo of alien triumph. The alien laughter echoed in Captain Marcus Webb's ears, a cacophony of dismissive superiority that grated against every fiber of his being. His smile, though outwardly unwavering, felt like a mask stretched taut over a rising storm. 47 years. 47 years of patience, of diplomacy, of holding back the very essence of what made humanity, well, human. He had seen it in the eyes of his delegation, the subtle shifts, the clenched fists hidden beneath robes, the barely contained tremors of frustration. They were tired. Humanity was tired. And somewhere, deep within the chambers of the human spirit, that patience was finally, irrevocably, snapping. You speak of our unpredictability, Ambassador. Webb's voice remained calm, a stark contrast to the alien din, yet now a subtle edge, like finely honed steel, began to emerge. You speak of our emotional outbursts and violence. Yet, in those 47 years, we have brought no warships to your space, launched no unprovoked attacks, violated no treaties. We have only sought dialogue, understanding, and the right to participate in the galactic community as equals. Tell me, Ambassador, how many of your civilized species can claim such a flawless record of peace during their probationary period? A ripple of unease, faint but perceptible, replaced some of the laughter. Keith Var's mandibles clicked, a sign of irritation. Such claims are irrelevant, Captain. Your species' history is a testament to your innate savagery. We possess detailed records of your world wars, your genocides, your nuclear deterrence. These are not the hallmarks of a species ready for advanced galactic integration. Your very nature is a risk. Our history, Ambassador, is also a testament to our resilience, Webb countered, his voice gaining a quiet power that commanded attention. The assembly, despite themselves, quieted slightly, intrigued by the humans' sudden shift. It is a testament to our capacity for self-correction, for learning from our mistakes. We built entire global systems from the ashes of conflict. We united diverse cultures under shared goals. We developed technologies that brought us from a single planet to the stars, not through conquest of others, but through an insatiable drive for knowledge and exploration. He paused, letting his words hang in the air, weighted with an unspoken challenge. You see our past as a flaw. We see it as a crucible that forged a species capable of anything. The Voran delegate rumbled, a crucible that still leaves you incapable of basic FTL efficiency, human. Your ingenuity is a myth, your technology is primitive. You speak of unique resources, yet offer nothing the galaxy doesn't already possess in abundance, and with far greater ease of access. Perhaps not in abundance to you, Voran. Webb's eyes, surprisingly sharp, met the Voran's multiple, unblinking gazes. Perhaps not in abundance to species whose understanding of resource is limited to what can be mined or manufactured. We offer something far more valuable, something your grand, ancient civilization seem to have forgotten the true worth of. Keith Var slammed a primary appendage onto the podium, the sound echoing sharply in the now silent chamber. Enough of this insolence, Captain. You grow tiresome. Your species is rejected. Again. The Council has made its decision. There is nothing more to discuss. His voice was final, absolute, laced with a familiar, crushing authority. He fully expected the human to wilt, to bow his head in defeat as they always had, to retreat with their tails tucked between their legs. But Webb did not wilt. He did not bow. Instead, that patient smile finally, infinitesimally, broadened. Not into one of amusement, but of something far more unsettling. Something akin to a quiet, dangerous resolve. Ambassador, he said, his voice dropping slightly, becoming almost conversational, yet it filled the room with an undeniable gravitas. For 47 years, humanity has extended an open hand. For 47 years, we have been met with closed doors, condescension, and outright contempt. We have endured your cosmic jokes, your pathetic labels, your endless rejections. We have swallowed our pride, time and time again, in the name of galactic peace and cooperation. He took a slow, deliberate step away from the podium, turning to face the assembled council members, his gaze sweeping over each species, lingering for a moment on the Zolonian Empire's shimmering form, the Nexarians' writhing tentacles, the crystalline delegates. But there comes a point, Webb continued, his voice a low, steady current that pulled at the very fabric of the chamber's authority, a critical juncture where patience ceases to be a virtue and becomes a weakness. A point where enduring insult is no longer an act of diplomacy, but an invitation for further disrespect. A collective murmur arose from the council. This was not the capitulation they were accustomed to. This was different. You have deemed us unpredictable, Webb stated, his eyes now locking onto Keith Var's. You have called us violent. You have underestimated our ingenuity and dismissed our technology as primitive. You believe you know us because you have read our historical records, records that only show a fraction of what we are capable of. You see only the echoes of our past struggles, not the full measure of our evolved strength. He unclasped his hands from behind his back, his posture now less a representative seeking favor and more a prophet delivering a grim prophecy. The Galactic Council, in its infinite wisdom, has today, for the 47th time, made its decision. And so, humanity, in its own infinite patience, has now made ours. A tense silence descended, heavier and more profound than any Keith Var had ever orchestrated. The air crackled with an unspoken tension. Webb looked directly at the ambassador, his smile finally vanishing, replaced by an expression of cold, unwavering determination. You desired us to understand our place in the galactic hierarchy. You desired us to learn. He paused, the weight of his next words hanging in the air like a death knell. Consider it learned. Captain Marcus Webb's final words, consider it learned, hung in the air like a physical presence, a challenge echoing through the vast, ornate chambers of the Galactic Council. The usual hum of the environmental system seemed to falter, replaced by a deafening silence. Ambassador Keith Var felt a prickle of unease, an unfamiliar sensation in a place where he held absolute sway. This was not the expected human retreat, the customary, albeit frustrated, acceptance of their fate. This was something new, something disquieting. What is the meaning of this, human? Keith Var demanded, his voice betraying a hint of his growing irritation. His mandibles clicked with a speed that reflected his inner turmoil. Are you threatening the council? Do you not understand the repercussions of such insolence? He tried to project his usual authority, but the words felt hollow, lacking their customary bite. Webb simply raised a hand, a gesture surprisingly mundane, yet imbued with an almost mystical significance in that moment. No threats, Ambassador. Merely a statement of fact. You have refused us entry through the front door. We simply intend to demonstrate that humanity is quite capable of building its own doors. Or, perhaps, of finding a different, less conventional entrance. Before Keith Var could articulate his outrage, Webb turned his gaze to a small, unassuming datapad held by one of his delegation members. A single, almost imperceptible nod was exchanged. Then, with a soft click, a holoprojector shimmered into existence on the human table. It wasn't large, not flashy, nothing like the grand, sweeping holographic displays favored by the older, more advanced species. This was precise, focused, and utterly captivating. A single image materialized, a star. Not just any star, but one familiar to all galactic cartographers, the sun of the Sol system. Around it, faint outlines began to emerge. Not the crude, Class 3 FTL ships Keith Var had so gleefully ridiculed. Instead, impossibly fast, sleek vessels, unlike anything seen in established galactic fleets, appeared and vanished in blinks of light. They weren't traversing space, they were folding it. A gasp rippled through the chamber. The crystalline delegates' bioluminescent patterns began to flash erratically, no longer in humor, but in alarm. The Voron rumbled, a sound of genuine shock. Even the usually unflappable Etherians pulsed with heightened intensity. These, Webb stated, his voice now imbued with a quiet, almost terrifying pride, are not Class 3 FTL vessels, Ambassador. These are ships utilizing what we call a quantum entanglement drive. They don't merely travel faster than light, they exploit the very fabric of spacetime, appearing instantaneously at any entangled point within a vast network we have meticulously constructed across hundreds of light-years. Keith Var's ocular sensors widened in disbelief. Impossible. Such technology is theoretical, requiring unimaginable energy outputs and computational power beyond even the Zolonian Empire's capabilities. Perhaps beyond your capabilities, Ambassador, Webb corrected smoothly, his voice still calm, but now laced with a cold, almost surgical precision. We have spent the last 47 years, while you debated our primitiveness, quietly solving problems you deemed insurmountable. While you dismissed us, we innovated. While you laughed, we built. The holographic display shifted. Now, not just ships, but massive, shimmering structures appeared at various points across the projected star map. They were not planets or moons, but colossal, intricate orbital platforms. These are our relay nexus points, Webb explained, gesturing to the shimmering structures. Each one a self-sustaining, hyper-advanced fabrication and research facility. They are the anchors for our quantum entanglement drive network, capable of producing anything from advanced materials to entirely new classes of vessels, all with unprecedented speed and efficiency. The silence in the chamber was profound, broken only by the frantic clicks and whistles of alien delegates desperately trying to process this impossible revelation. The laughter, the derision, the dismissive snorts, all had evaporated, replaced by a chilling realization. They hadn't been watching a domesticated animal, they had been watching an apex predator patiently sharpening its claws in the shadows. But, your resources, the Nexarian delegate stammered, its tentacles no longer writhing with amusement, but with genuine fear. Your supposed lack of unique resources. Ah, our resources, Webb acknowledged, a faint, almost imperceptible smile returning, but this one held no patience, only a chilling certainty. You see, while you scour asteroid belts and mine gas giants, humanity has been developing what we call matter-energy transmutation. We don't need to mine. We don't need to manufacture from raw elements. We can convert pure energy into any element, any compound, any complex material, atom by atom, with near-perfect efficiency. Our resource is simply the universe's inherent energy. It is, quite literally, limitless. The full implication of his words landed with the force of a cosmic hammer blow. Limitless energy. Instantaneous travel. Rapid, self-sustaining manufacturing. Humanity wasn't asking for a seat at the table, they had built their own, infinitely larger, grander table, and now they were merely informing the Council of its existence. Keith Var felt a cold dread begin to seep into his very core. This wasn't just an advanced species. This was an economic and logistical impossibility. They had, in a mere 47 years, not just caught up to galactic standards, but shattered them, leaving the established powers decades, even centuries, behind. And they had done it all in secret, under the very noses of the Galactic Council. You built all of this, without our knowledge. Keith Var stammered, his voice thin, stripped of its usual bravado. The realization hit him like a physical blow, his entire career, built on maintaining the status quo, on keeping humanity down, was now crumbling to dust around him. You weren't looking, Ambassador, Webb replied, his voice still calm, but now tinged with a profound, almost weary sadness. You were too busy looking down. You believed our primitive ships and our internal squabbles were the sum total of our existence. You believed your own propaganda. We, on the other hand, were busy adapting. We were busy evolving. We were busy becoming something entirely new, something you never anticipated. The holographic display flickered once more, and this time, thousands of dots appeared across the vast galactic map, not just in soul space, but spreading rapidly, quietly, across neutral sectors, across uninhabited nebulae, even brushing the very edges of established Empire territories. Each dot represented a single human vessel, or a relay nexus point, or a new, discrete human colony, all operating within this hidden network. The galaxy is a vast place, Ambassador, Webb concluded, his gaze sweeping over the horrified faces of the council members. And humanity, it seems, has just begun to truly explore it. Without your permission. Without your trade agreements. Without your generous hand. We simply wished to extend ours, and you refused it. So now, we walk our own path. And you, honored council, will simply have to adapt to our presence. The smile returned to his face, a chilling, triumphant declaration. The patience had snapped, and in its place, new, formidable dawn for humanity had broken. The silence that followed Captain Webb's declaration was no longer one of mere shock, but of abject horror for the assembled Galactic Council. Ambassador Keith Var felt his multi-jointed legs tremble slightly, an involuntary reaction to the profound shift in galactic power dynamics that had just occurred. His carefully constructed reality, built on the predictable subservience of lesser species, had shattered into a million glittering fragments. "This is an act of aggression," shrieked the Zolonian delegate, its crystalline form flaring crimson, a sign of extreme distress. To develop such technology in secret. To establish a network of this magnitude without council oversight. It is a direct challenge to galactic order. Webb turned his gaze, steady and unwavering, toward the panicking Zolonian. Aggression? We merely chose to develop in peace, unhindered by your restrictive mandates and baseless prejudices. For 47 years, we sought to join your order. You forced us to create our own. Is a species acting in its own self-interest, after decades of being systematically denied basic rights, truly aggressive? Or is it simply, resourceful? The Nexarian delegate's tentacles thrashed violently. Resourceful? You have circumvented every known galactic protocol. You have built an empire under our very noses. An empire? Webb scoffed, a dry, humorless sound. We have established self-sufficient communities and trade routes in neutral space. We are not interested in conquest. We are interested in autonomy. We are interested in flourishing, unburdened by your endless, condescending scrutiny. If you perceive our independence as a threat, perhaps the flaw lies not with humanity, but with your rigid definition of order. A high-pitched squawk erupted from the Ornithon delegate, a feathered being known for its timid nature. But, the economic implications. Your matter-energy transmutation, it would destabilize every resource market in the galaxy. Every established trade cartel. It would invalidate millennia of economic principles. Indeed, Webb acknowledged, a faint, almost pitying smile touching his lips. Change is often disruptive. But stagnation, as you have so meticulously demonstrated, is far more deadly. For 47 years, you clung to old ways, old hierarchies, while innovation lay dormant. Humanity refuses to be held back by your fear of progress. We offer a new paradigm. Whether you adapt to it or are swept away by it, is now entirely your choice. Keith Var found his voice, though it was raspy, laced with a fear he desperately tried to conceal. Your population is too small for such an undertaking. Your species requires vast amounts of territory for expansion. You cannot sustain this network indefinitely. He clutched at straws, any argument to regain control. But that is where your understanding of humanity truly falters, Ambassador, Webb stated, his eyes gleaming with a newfound confidence. You assume our expansion must be physical, limited by planetary surfaces. You assume our growth is tied to the archaic concepts of territory. You, Ambassador, still think in two dimensions, while humanity has already embraced the multidimensional. The holographic display changed again, revealing complex, intricate designs that spun and shifted, defying simple three-dimensional comprehension. These are our habitation rings, Webb explained, gesturing to the swirling schematics. Self-contained, infinitely expandable, and mobile habitats capable of supporting billions of lives in perfect ecological balance. They can be built anywhere, in any size, limited only by the availability of energy, which, as I mentioned, is no longer a concern for us. We do not need planets to expand. We are our own worlds. And our population, Ambassador, is growing exponentially within these self-contained ecosystems, designed for optimal human flourishing and scientific advancement. The implication was terrifyingly clear. Humanity wasn't just a powerful new player, they were a completely different kind of civilization, one that had rendered obsolete the very foundations of galactic power, territory, resources, traditional population growth. They weren't just joining the game, they had changed the rules entirely. The Voran delegate, usually a beacon of arrogant stoicism, was visibly agitated, its massive frame twitching. This is a declaration of economic warfare. You are undermining the galactic economy. We are offering a more efficient, equitable path, Webb corrected calmly. Imagine a galaxy where scarcity is no longer an issue. Where resources are not hoarded by a select few, but are freely available to all who can generate them. Where trade is based on innovation and unique services, not on the mere exchange of raw materials. This is not war, Voran. This is evolution. And your economy is simply experiencing the natural pangs of obsolescence. Keith Var felt a profound sense of helplessness. His entire life had been dedicated to maintaining the delicate balance of galactic power, a balance he now realized was built on a foundation of sand. Humanity had not merely broken the rules, they had rendered the rulebook irrelevant. The very concept of galactic hierarchy was being dismantled before his eyes. What do you want? Keith Var finally managed to choke out, the words tasting like ash in his mouth. The condescension, the mockery, the triumphant glee, all gone, replaced by a desperate, palpable fear. Webb looked at him, his face a complex mask of weariness and quiet triumph. What we wanted, Ambassador, we asked for 47 years. We wanted a seat at your table. We wanted respect. We wanted trade rights, justly earned. You denied us. You chose to categorize us, to dismiss us, to laugh at us. He paused, then continued, his voice resonating with a quiet finality that chilled every being in the chamber. Now, what we want is quite simple, to be left alone. We will trade with whom we choose, explore where we choose, and build what we choose. We will respect your borders, provided you respect ours. We will offer our technologies and resources to those who seek genuine cooperation, not condescension. But make no mistake, Ambassador. The time for asking permission is over. The time for humanity's patience is at an end. And the time for humanity's ultimate stand has just begun. The holographic display dissolved, leaving the stunned, silent council in a state of utter disarray. The ripple effect had begun, and its waves promised to reshape the galaxy forever.